Hey guys, my name is Devin Moreno and welcome to my Investing Journey channel. And today I'm going to bring you a segment that I'm going to do across this entire channel, and it's going to be called Pro Tip. And the reason why is because it will feature two of my main mentors and of course many others that I'll find on my journey. These mentors are the ones who coached me on my real estate investing. There's Mark Owens and Austin Carroll. Now, they both have very different, unique investing strategies, but they're all both very, very successful. In this case, we're going to go with Mark Owens. He has 100 units across 30 different properties, maybe over 30, and he's been doing this for quite a few years, even well before the 2008 crash. So in this video, we're going to go in a class of his where he guides 6 of us. He invited us to a house that he doesn't personally own. A friend of his owns it, but he's going to go through it on what he would do to renovate it as if he owned it. So he's got a lot of information in this video. We're actually going to break it up into multiple different segments. You should get a lot of good stuff. Now keep in mind, in this video, we are in 2 houses that are both very, very cold. They're completely run down in a rundown kind of ish area of Baltimore City, and so we're all wearing full coats and we're sniffling a little bit, so I apologize about that, but you should get a lot of great stuff. This guy truly knows what he's talking about. Let's go ahead and take a look.
But when I walk in the front door, when I start observing everything, first thing I notice, just right here is like, all right, man, there's a whole lot of old wood in here. And this house was built probably around 1920, so it's probably going to be a lot of lead paint in the house. One of the things you want to do right now is try to go lead free when you can. It's typically going to add $5,000 to the cost, typically, if it's a house like this. Replacing all this, I would get rid of these columns more than likely. Get rid of all the wood around the archway there, around this archway, all the trim we see. Usually, when you come in and you look at the windows, you see this case molding right here has been replaced, but these windows, they're gonna have to be replaced because you can tell, a lot of times, not all the time, but you can tell the lead paint because when you look at this, the cracking, it has like an alligator skin pattern to it. And that usually indicates lead paint. So these are gonna go. The windows, this one's gonna cost more because it's more than 101 UI or United inches. Let me explain what that is. When you buy windows, the cost is usually like, 140 bucks up to 101 United inches. So United inches are the measurement of the length and the width added together. So this right here, I can tell is gonna be more than 101 United inches. It's a larger window. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll go ahead and frame it up top and then put something, and it looks like shit. Like really, when people do that, it looks real ghetto. They'll put like siding or something down at the bottom, or flashing or something like that. But sometimes in a neighborhood like this, might not be that bad. So maybe frame it up to here so that it's a smaller window. Or sometimes what people will do is they'll take this top part right here, remove all that, and then put like a couple pieces of plexiglass up top, and then have one window down at the bottom just to kind of split it in half so it's not one gigantic window. So for these, this one's going to cost more, but typically windows are about $250 each installed. If you get somebody like David Davis, that he's About Time Windows, he's on Facebook. So if you go to the Baltimore Investors Network Facebook page, you'll see him mentioned on there on a regular basis. I used to use him to do all my windows, and then I found out that the guys that I use can do just as good of a job. The guys that work for me full time can do just as good of a job. So what we do is we buy our windows. There's a hardware store about maybe 7 blocks down and 2 blocks in. I think it's like McHenry and Ashton Street or something like that. And we buy our windows there now. My guys will just measure the length and the width, deduct a 1/4 inch off each side so it'll fit in, and then they'll just shim it out. And the windows there, I think they're about 130 bucks just for the window. And then you got to pay for the flashing, the labor to install it, and all that stuff. But they're really good windows, so we go there a lot. So whenever you're doing your math, just before you even get into the house, a lot of times you just count the windows out front and say, okay, there's 3 windows at 750. Come in the house, look out back, maybe there's another 5 windows. That's another 1,250. So 1,250, 750, 2,000 for all new windows wrapped. 2,000 if you need to replace the roof. That's 4,000. We haven't even gone through and looked at the house yet. We already know we may be spending $4,000 when renovating the house. One of the things you can do is I use a guy named Neil Roseman from Lead Probe, and I have him come in with an XRF gun, and he'll go through and tell me where all the lead paint's at. So they'll take a Sharpie and like put an X on it so you know where it's all at. In a house like this, I'm confident that all this has lead paint. So what I normally do is remove all the wood and then call him and come out. And if he says, man, this wall has lead paint, that's gonna suck, because then you're gonna either remove all that plaster or you're just gonna go over top of it with like 1/2 inch drywall.
You just throw the wood away?
Yeah. And what else would you do with it?
Nothing. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna take it to the EPA or nothing.
Weird.
No. I just throw it in there.
I do the same thing.
You know, it's like, I'm just like, I don't know it's got lead. I just know it's old wood and we get rid of it. So, what else?
So you would call him after you demo everything?
Yeah. In an older house like this, if it like this right here, this doesn't have lead paint. This is new trim right here. This clamshell casing is new. I'm confident that all these windows and all the casing around that has lead paint. So typically what I would do is my guys would remove the windows. They're gonna measure from here to here. Then they're gonna add like an inch for or maybe an inch and a half for the wood that they're gonna put on both sides, because they're gonna reframe over top of all of that wood. And then on the outside, they're gonna cover it with aluminum flashing. And that's good. Like if you got lead paint like on the cornice or something like that, and they cover it with aluminum flashing, there's no lead. You just can't see it. So just because it's lead free doesn't mean it's not there. What it means is the tenant's not gonna like come over and gnaw on it and get lead poisoning or something like that. Let me explain something about the lead paint while I'm on the subject. Kids aren't eating paint. Like they're not saying, oh, here's a piece of paint, let me like eat it. What's happening, this is what we all did when we were kids. Like when you're 2 years old, like you put anything in your mouth, man. There's a shoe, put it in your mouth, a toy, whatever. And up to the age of 5, and then by the time we're 5, we're like, I'm not putting that in my mouth, hopefully. Well, what happens is these old windows, not that this one's gonna have to do it, but a lot of these old windows, when you open them and shut them, or the old doors, the friction, rubbing paint creates dust. And that dust falls down onto the floor on top of kids' toys. They put their toy in their mouth, they just got lead poisoning. And then you get in trouble. So that is something that's really important. So one of the other things I noticed when I first walk in is I'm always looking for radiators. Now I don't see any, so that's good. I see a vent over here for some duct work. I see another one back in the dining room area. So that's good, because if it's got radiators and an old boiler or something like that, you're gonna replace it. The cost is typically gonna be whether or not you put central air in, from $5,500 to $8,000. If you're gonna put just forced air in, it's gonna be on the low end. If you're gonna put central air, it's gonna be on the higher end. Again, that's something you should shop around, because there is a wide range of prices with HVAC. If this is a guy that's used to working with investors like the guy I use, he's gonna be on the lower end of the price. If it's somebody like you just found in the phone book, you don't know them, they don't know you, and you know, they're just thinking, I'm just gonna fuck this guy, never see him again, and it might tell you $12,000. And some people, homeowners, will just write the check because they just think that's what it is, and that's what happens. So the good news is, when I look in here, it's already got ductwork. It doesn't mean it's in good shape, but more than likely we can reuse, if not all of it, most of it, and that's gonna cut down the cost a good bit. So with the HVAC stuff, the typical systems are, if you're gonna replace, if you're gonna rewire the house, replumb the house, all that stuff, it's gonna be about $5,000 to $8,000 for electric, $5,000 to $8,000 for plumbing, $5,000 to $8,000 for HVAC. Those are rough estimates, but those are pretty accurate from my experience. If somebody says, oh, I want, $12,000 to rewire a row house in Baltimore, find somebody else. If they say they want, $12,000 to replumb the house, find somebody else. If they want $12,000 for HVAC, find somebody else. They're just trying to take advantage of you, and maybe trying to pay for their visa for Christmas or something like that. So you definitely, when you're first starting, you want to get a couple of estimates from people. The best thing to do, get on Baltimore Investors Network Facebook page and look on there, because most of the contractors on there are used to working with us, and they know the price range that we're willing to pay for stuff. So when you look in this house, I look at the flooring also. Now, this flooring might clean up. I don't like it. It's obviously the engineered wood. Was it Fargo or something like that? I can't remember what it's called. But I don't like this, and you can tell whoever laid it wasn't very skilled at it, because all these lines, they should have kind of staggered them a little bit. And you just see these straight lines, and it's obviously, you know, fake stuff. So I would more than likely pull these up, but the floor looks pretty level for a house this age. So if you pull this up, get back down on top of it. What I'm using in a lot of my rentals now on the first floor is a product from Home Depot called Allure. It's a rubber material. It's fake, but it's rubber. It's got like a 25-year lifespan on it. If somebody spills coffee on it or a soda, it's not going to damage it. It just wipes off. You know, if there's a flood in the house for some reason and, you know, 50 gallons of water go on the floor, it just wipes up. It's just water and it's rubber, so it's not going to, you know, like change or buckle or anything like that. You know, you can buy new hardwood floors, and if you have a flood, you know, the bathroom, something, a line breaks and the water sits on the floor for a day or two, you might have to replace a good portion of your hardwood floors. So I really am a fan of the Allure products in Baltimore City. If you're buying something in Montgomery County or, you know, a higher end rental, then you might not want to go with Allure. You might want to go with actual hardwoods that might be like $3 a square foot just for the material itself, depending on how nice of a quality of hardwoods that you get. If you buy those, there's a place in Glen Burnie, I think it's called Wood Floors Plus, that sells the wood flooring, and that's the last retail rehab I did. I shopped around, that was like the best deal, and other people have told me that in advance, but I don't do a lot of retail flips, but when I went down there, I was really impressed with the selection that they had and the prices.
The rubber floor thing, does it read as rubber, or does it what does it feel or read as?
Sorry?
Like with the rubber, the Allure stuff, like what does it look and feel like?
It looks like wood,
Okay.
but not like a whole lot. You know, it's got a wood pattern like this.
Okay.
But you can tell that it's not wood, and it's actually softer. It's kind of a soft material. It's made out of rubber. And one of the nice things about Allure is, like, you don't need any power to install it. You can actually cut it with a razor knife. So, you know, it just makes it a lot easier. Of course, just like any flooring, you should install it, you know, when it's like 70 to 80 degrees in the property. Let it sit in there a couple days to acclimatize to that property. A common mistake that people that are newer will make, they'll say, okay, they'll go to, you know, Wood Floors Plus or Home Depot and bring in, you know, a whole bunch of wood, and then they'll start installing it that day. Well, you know, it's freaking 10 degrees outside, it's probably 40 degrees in the house, and that wood shrinks. And then in the summer, when it's, you know, 85 degrees in here, it expands and then starts to buckle and stuff like that. So you really want to give the wood a chance to adjust to the environment. Let it sit in there a couple days at like room temperature before you install it, so that it expands or contracts to match the environment of like a house that somebody would actually live in. It's going to save you a lot of trouble.
Have you used Pargo at all?
Years ago, many years. That's what I was thinking of, Pergo, for this flooring looks something like that. Pergo's a brand of fake flooring, and there's a lot of brands that look very similar. It's just, you have different locking mechanisms. Sometimes it's like a hook, sometimes it's actually a tongue and groove. Sometimes they actually have glue on both sides, but usually you don't need nails to nail it down. And they're floating floors, which means they're not nailed down. They can actually move around a little bit. That shouldn't be, if they're installed properly, that shouldn't be an issue. Like, you're not gonna walk and feel like the floor sliding underneath of you or anything. So in this property, one of the things that I noticed that I really don't like is when it has the outlets installed in the woodwork like that. Because if you're gonna, you know, rewire the house or something like that, or replace all the trim, it's just a little bit more labor. When the outlets are up here, the guys can just pull off the trim, slap new trim down, it's not a big deal. With that stuff there, they're gonna have to be it's gonna take more time to, you know, to cut the holes, to go over the receptacles and all that stuff, and then your labor costs are gonna go up just because it's more tedious. And there's another one back here. I think there's another one back here in the corner, so there's 4 of them in here right there. So that's probably gonna add another, you know, couple hours to the labor just for that, just for this room right here.
To get them to right here?
Well, that's just to cut the wood so that you can remove this box, cut a hole in the wood, put the wood back on, and then mount the box back on top of it. Of course, if you're gonna get an electrician to move them all up, then that's gonna cost you a lot of money too, because you're gonna have to, behind all those, you're gonna have to put junction boxes, because more than likely, there's not enough slack in this wire to move the receptacle to like 15 inches. So they're gonna have to put a junction box back there, tie a new wire, mount another box there, and that's gonna cost you a lot of money too, so that's gonna be a pain in the butt. So, in this room right here, if I was gonna buy this property and use it as a rental, that ceiling has gotta go. You got two choices. One is you can either demo it completely and then just, attach drywall to the joists that are above it, or you can frame around it and then attach drywall to the framing underneath of it. I would probably demo that because I wouldn't want to have that falling on top of the drywall and possibly creating enough weight on there where the drywall actually falls down. So I'd get and do the demo. Demo is expensive. Demo and hauling is a lot of money. Trash removal is a lot of money. You're thinking, well, shit, it's just like 15 bags of stuff. It's like the guy that's got the truck has got, he's got to pay for his truck, insurance, the dump fees, every time, not every time, but every couple months you go to the dump, you got to get a flat, you get a flat tire, you get harassed by the state cops or the county cops every time you go to the dump. They're pulling you over, checking to make sure you have your DOT health card and all this other crap. So it can be a real pain in the butt. So I'm just telling you right now, like, be prepared to be shocked when you get a dump guy come in, that wants to do the demo and haul everything out. It's a lot of money. It's surprising. I actually bought a dump truck because I got tired of paying that much money, and then have them showing up and just doing like a half a load, so it's not above the walls of the pickup truck. And then you're paying like $90 for that. It's like 2 mattresses and a couple bags of trash. It's $90. So I bought a stick body. That's like a landscaping truck that actually dumps, and it's equivalent to about a 10-yard dumpster. I'm not suggesting you all run out and go buy a $35,000 truck this weekend, but just keep in mind that at some point in the future, if you've got 50, 60, 100 units, you might want to go buy one, because it's going to make it easier to get rid of your trash, do clean outs, do evictions, and if you got to get by 50 sheets of drywall, it's a lot easier to do it. So even though the truck, when I bought it, was $35,000 10 years ago, I've made all that back just with the reduced stress and the reduced bullshit trying to find, the hauling guys are like, well, I used him for 2 months and now he's in jail again, so now I got to find somebody else, and it's just a big headache. So for me, it was a very good investment.
So did you hire somebody to drive the truck for you?
I've got 5 guys that work for me and another person full time, and one of those guys drives it. I used to do it sometimes, but I used to like going to the dump. It's kind of weird, but it was kind of relaxing actually, and now I can't stand it.
So guys are starting out, like, what's the best solve?
If you're just starting out, man, you're gonna have to do what I did. You're gonna have to pay other people to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Find a buddy with it, or dump trailers, they're about $3,000-4,000. And the hydraulic dump, they're nice too.
Yep. Yeah, you can get those too. They don't hold as much. So
No.
instead of making one trip, you might make 3 trips.
Yeah, so just time.
But it is, and one of the things, I'm not suggesting you should do this, but the first thing I did was actually buy a long bed pickup truck. And this was when I was first starting to like go buy materials, take shit to the dump myself, like all that stuff. I was much more hands-on when I first started than I am now. There's a couple reasons for that. Well, I guess it's all really one reason. How do I put this? If you use property management, like let's just say that your house rents out for $1,400 a month. You're going to take a $140 per month pay cut in your cash flow if you've got a property manager taking care of it. Well, my goal was to get away from my job as fast as I could. If that meant, I'm going to be working in my business longer, like doing this, like, cleaning out trash and painting and all that, then to me it was worth it, because that $140 a month, times 20 houses, that adds up to a few $1,000s, and that just gets me out of my job faster. I'm not suggesting that you do that. We all have a different path and we all have different goals. But for me at that time, I just wanted to make as much money as I could off my rental so I could get out of the computer business. And if I was using property management, I would have to have bought twice as many properties as I did before I could do that. So I got out a lot faster by doing that. One of the mistakes I made when I first started was, I decided I'm going to paint all my houses antique white because it's fucking ugly, but anything will go with it. Like you can put a gray sofa, a pink sofa, a red sofa, the antique white is fine with everything. So I'm painting one of my, I think it was in a dining room or living room, and I ran out of paint. I bought it at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and then I went and bought another 5-gallon bucket at the opposite store. And I get back and it's antique white, right? And I'm fucking painting this shit. And I come back the next day, I'm like, shit fucking looks different.
Yep.
And I realized, like, antique white is not antique white. You know, it's like if you get Sherwin-Williams antique white and Glidden antique white, they don't look like the same color. And that's when I realized, like, fuck, now I gotta paint this whole room again, and or at least half of it, and the next room. And I decided at that point, I'm just gonna go to Home Depot for all my materials, and I'm always gonna buy Glidden antique white 5-gallon buckets. Don't buy a gallon of paint. That's like dumb, you know, because you get a 5-gallon bucket, and then if there's 2 gallons left, you take that to your next job. And if you always use the same color on all your properties, you know, if you've got a couple gallons left and you need to do touch up, okay, well, I got a couple gallons, it's always the same color. You're not gonna be sitting there like, was this agreeable gray? Or was it stormy gray? I can't fucking remember, and I didn't write this shit down. If you always use the same stuff, then it's gonna make your life a lot easier. And there's whatever color you pick, I don't care what color it is, but for me, like I do the trim and the walls the same color. So if you're gonna use shell white for the walls, use it for the trim, because what happens, what I used to do is I would paint the walls flat antique white and all the wood semi-gloss antique white. And if they're cutting in isn't perfect, you're not gonna fucking notice. It's like the same color, just one's got a little shine and one doesn't. If you do like gray walls and white trim and that shit's not cut tight, then it's gonna stand out. Yeah, you're gonna be like, man, here's your painter, you know? So, because I want to know who not to use. And so I try to keep it all the same color. I'm Baltimore City Rentals, man. This isn't high-end stuff. I'm not buying stuff in Towson or, you know, anything like that where, you know, it's a $150,000 row house or more, and people are expecting to walk in and see like white trim and gray walls and all that stuff. That's just, most of my rentals are Section 8 or similar government programs, and the tenants, they walk in and they just like, man, this is nice. You know, it's like,
It's clean.
for a lot of them, yeah, for a lot of them, it's like the nicest place they've ever lived. And you or I might walk in and say, oh, you know, it looks nice on the outside. I'm not living in this neighborhood. And I've had tenants say, well, I don't live outside. I live inside my house. I don't care what's going on outside. I care what's going on inside. This house is nice. I'm like, all right, my kind of tenant.
Alright guys, I hope you guys liked that segment of Pro Tip. We're going to have a lot more videos of Austin Carroll and Mark Owens, both of my real estate investing mentors. So stay tuned for future videos where I break up either the same house or many different houses into multiple different subjects to get you guys the most amount of information on these guys as possible. Highly experienced in the field, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. Let me know also any questions you want me to ask them. Of course, I have access to them for a lot longer periods of time, and I can ask them these questions and produce other videos, or even get them to answer it in videos or interviews. So definitely write in the comment section below, and also like this channel if you like the Pro Tip segment, if you like the content that we're bringing here, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon.